Rector Hazel, members of the boards of visitors, fellow university presidents, George Mason University students, staff, and faculty, honored guests and community members, and of course, my family, thank you. Look, I stand here on the shoulders of those who came before me, two of which are here and are represented today. Thank you for honoring us with your presidents, Dr. Angel Cabrera and Eric Merton, who is representing his late father, Dr. Alan Merton. And we owe a debt of gratitude to Ann Houghton for her exemplary leadership as interim president. I definitely could not have been here, and we could not have had this success without all of you. Well, a lot has already been said. But I will tell you this, it is one of the great honors of my life to be invested as the 8th president of George Mason University. It is. After I have arrived in the summer of 2020, it has been a very, very long walk to this day. As Jimmy highlighted to you, on February 24th, when I accepted the offer of a lifetime to become president of Mason, I did so in a world that no longer exists. On that day, the top story was about coronavirus, but it was in South Korea and Italy, far away from the US. US unemployment was at 3.5%, and more importantly, George Floyd was still alive. By July 1st, my first day in office, all that had changed. COVID-19 had driven us into lockdown. Unemployment had reached levels not seen since the Great Depression. And the recent murder of George Floyd forced the beginning of a fiery reckoning for racial injustice that communities of color had endured for centuries. In fact, the very first question I got from a reporter was not about the pandemic. It was not about our calamitous budget crisis. No, my first question was whether I would change the name of George Mason University. In fact, there was a petition that said it should be George Floyd University. All I can say is, welcome to my new job. So, in that day, we had many more questions than answers. Could we keep students on track for post-graduation success? Could we hold them financially harmless while many of them experience their own financial crises? Could we pivot from a familiar traditional instruction approach to an online or hybrid model without sacrificing quality? And could we flip all of that overnight? There were so many difficult questions, and there were no easy answers. To borrow from Winston Churchill, we were forced to choose from the worst possible solutions, except all the others. And yet, throughout this year, we have shown that the answer to all those questions is yes. Yes. How do I know that? Yes, we graduated our largest and most diverse class ever. We grew enrollment 2.1%. Our students performed, and our students performed mightily. Please give them a round of applause. Yes, we transformed the campus to fully remote or hybrid. And we did that for more than 10,000 course sections. Our research grew by 8%. Indeed, our faculty performed. Give them a round of applause. Yes, we went from a $109 million deficit to a modest fund balance at the end of fiscal year 2021. We did all of that, and we gave faculty a modest raise of up to about 5%. And we did it without raising undergraduate tuition. Yes, our staff implemented best-in-class COVID protocols, including our own faculty-created, staff-created, rapid return, large-scale COVID testing system. We opened our Fairfax and Manassas campus to mass vaccination centers while deploying staff from our College of Health and Human Services into mobile clinics, and we deployed them into vulnerable communities to give vaccinations. As you heard earlier, we administered more than 110,000 vaccines to the public, and we took compassionate care of our students who were with us in quarantine and isolation. Our staff truly performed. Please give them a round of applause. And I know some of you have heard me say this before, but there is an old saying in the South, and that is, if you see a frog at the top of a flagpole, you know he didn't get there by himself. We have done this as a community, and it is a big deal. And I would be remiss if I did not thank our federal and state leaders who offered bipartisan support to keep students in school, keep faculty in their jobs, and through emergency relief, offered funding and financial aid to our students. That's a big deal. No, give them applause. Our alumni and supporters also deserve our gratitude. Look, we had our third best fundraising year on record. Our Board of Visitors and our Board of Trustees, they helped lead this university like never before. Students, I'm going to tell you right now, Virginia's leaders care about you. Please give our alumni leaders, our donors, our government leaders a round of applause. And finally, I too have had plenty of help. It started with the greatest example of hard work, tenacity, and steadfastness that I have ever experienced in my mother. And she is here with us today. She had me at a very young age, but she continued to work hard, raising us, making sure we had what we needed for success, and sometimes working as many as 3 jobs, and no less than 2, even when she was in school. That's right, she went back to school, and she received her first degree in the same year that I received my last. So now you understand why I believe in the power of education. And last but not least, I continue to have the best support system that anyone can have, starting with my wife, Nicole. She has been at the core of every major decision I have made. She has been a friend, a confidant, and my true partner. And I learned that lesson the hard way. I remember one day back when I was the dean of the engineering school, we saw one of her old boyfriends working at UPS. Said, see? There he is. See, you with me now. I'm the dean of the engineering school. See him? He's at UPS. And she looked at me and she said, if I was with him, he would be the dean of engineering and you. And you would be working at UPS. Those of you who know Nicole know I'm telling the truth. Anyway, the support I get from Nicole is bolstered by my two sons, Joshua and Caleb, my extended family, my church family, and my pastor. They're all here today, and I would not be here without all of you. Thank you all. So, as a community, we have made our way through darkness and the uncertainty, and in doing, we actually discovered who we were and what we were capable of. We discovered that we were indeed patriots in every positive sense of the word. We understand better, we understand that clearly now, what it truly means to be a patriot. But this is not new for Mason. Of all the four-year institutions in our state, it was not expected that this university would be in this position of strength. But in our relatively short lifespan, we became America's youngest or ever R1 university. We manage the fastest growing research portfolio in the country. We are Virginia's largest public, its most diverse public, and its most innovative public institution. And we did all of this without many of the advantages that many of our smaller peer institutions in our state have. We never have received as much state dollars on a per student basis as our smaller and older sister institutions. We have no medical school to accelerate our research portfolio. And we have no billion-dollar-plus endowment to draw from. Believe me, I looked, and I continue to look. We are not here because we insisted on being highly selective. We are here because we insisted on being highly inclusive. We are here because we did things that no one thought we could do, but didn't bother to tell us, so we just did them. And we are here because we dream big and act on those dreams. We are passionate, purpose-driven, and drawn to causes larger than ourselves. We are patriots. And now, what lies ahead? You know, Virginia is not just the cradle of America's democracy. It is also the cradle of higher education as well. The Commonwealth has always been known for great higher ed institutions. That started back in 1863 with the founding of the College of William and Mary. Dr. Catherine Rowe, president of William and Mary, is here with us today. Thank you for being here, Catherine. William and Mary formed the basis of higher education, not just in the South, but really in our country. And out of that great institution came Old Dominion University, Christopher Newport University, and Richard Bland College. The next great institution was the University of Virginia. The original governing board of that institution included Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and James Monroe. And Monroe was the sitting president of the United States at the time of its founding. And the two earlier presidents, Jefferson and Madison, was its two first rectors. Out of this great institution came the University of Mary Washington. Dr. Troy Payno, president of Mary Washington, is here with us today. Troy, thank you for being here. But most recently, the other great institution that sprung from UVA was, of course, George Mason University. And along the way, I would be remiss if I did not say that many other great institutions exist in this state. I have been thoroughly impressed. I've been a part of institutions or institutions of higher learning in 4 states. And I can tell you that Virginia is knocking the ball out of the park. So why this history lesson? Why would I go through all of this, right? It is because throughout our history, great institutions have flourished because they were positioned for success by the right people at the right time. And their curricular and offerings met critical needs for the state and the nation. What I contend to you is that now it's Mason's time. Look, no institution in our state is better positioned to address the 3 great challenges that are now facing our nation. The first great challenge is this transition to a fully multicultural America. And with that, I mean that our nation will be without a clear ethnic majority by mid-century. Mason already has no ethnic majority. No group comprises more than 50%. So I ask you, well, who's better to lead? An institution with diversity integrated at its core, or one that predominantly serves one interest group? One that already looks like America's future, or one that looks like its past? I contend to you, it's Mason's time. The second great challenge is the massive economic transformation that's now underway. Technology has brought about this sea change, and the pandemic has greatly accelerated it. Automation and machine learning are now predicted to render drivers, bankers, paralegals, accountants, translators, even newspaper reporters and air traffic controllers obsolete. In fact, some 47% of the current U.S. job market is vulnerable to extinction within 10 years. On the other hand, healthcare, data workers, data analysts, software developers, cybersecurity experts are all going to be in high demand. Look, the world is changing. Competition is real, and we are competing in a global environment, and it's not just in tech. If you think it's in tech, I got 2 words for you: Squid Game. Look, the reality is this. For every 5 million unemployed people on the job market today, there are 6 million unfilled jobs. And that situation is worsening. Virginia and the nation require institutions that can rapidly realign our emerging workforce with the evolving needs of the economy. Mason is the most innovative institution in our state. In recent years, we have created more new academic programs than all other Virginia institutions combined. And we have had the discipline to close programs when it's necessary and move on. I contend to you, it's outstanding. You got it. The final challenge we must prepare for is to tackle multiple simultaneous grand challenges, starting with the climate crisis and its relationship to all other threats. Today's students have a task before them that is as daunting as the challenges of another generation. A century ago, they endured the Great Depression, only to fight World War II, then Korea, and then the Cold War. They won them all and literally saved the world. For that, we call them the greatest generation. Today's college students are the next great generation because, like their great-grandparents, they will confront interlocking existential threats. Only this time, they face a climate emergency, unprecedented health challenges of a crowded planet, a chaotically shifting economy, increasing wealth inequality, and ongoing threats to democracy, not just globally, but right here in the U.S. Mason is the #1 university in the country under 50 years old. And we have the fastest growing research of a public university. Our youth and speed make us well positioned to respond to all of these changes because we are indeed still changing. Look, over the next 10 years, more than 40% of our faculty and staff will be new, and that's due to retirements and growth. We are primed to take on these challenges with new talent and seasoned faculty alike. I tell you, it is Mason's time. Each of these challenges is daunting, but taken together, they can seem overwhelming. Thankfully, if all else fails, we have our students. We've always prided ourselves, as you heard earlier, on putting students first, and they have truly shown us what they are made of. After all, most of our students hail from historically disenfranchised communities. 3 in 10 are first generation. Thousands of them are past traditional college age. They have a vision for a better life for themselves, their families, and their communities. And they are not strangers to adversity, occasional rejection, and hard work. Yes, more is already demanded of this generation than any before them, and they have no choice but to face these demands head on. And so we have no choice but to prepare them and those who follow for a task that is nothing short of saving the world. And this forms the basis of what we will stand for. The United Nations summarizes its vision for meeting these existential threats with 17 Sustainable Development Goals to assure our planet's future. But no one is likely to remember all 17 goals. And given how long we've been up here, y'all don't want me to go through all 17. But we have summed up what we stand for and what we aim to champion by looking at just 4 basic, simple principles. And these simple principles, it will be how we will help our students prepare to save the world. First, we stand for a healthy planet. Mason has many unheralded qualities, not the least among them being our leadership in climate research and advocacy. From our Institute for Sustainable Earth to the Center for Climate Change Communication, and far too many other worthy endeavors to list by name, our scholars lead the way in developing new insights, translating them both to our students and to the public at large. We must walk the talk, however, and we plan to do this through our campus master plan. The Mason campus of the future will be pace setters of environmental sustainability with a defined green belt running through our Fairfax campus and best-in-class energy standards to help reduce our carbon footprint at all 4 of our campuses. And yes, we will be carbon neutral by 2040. Believe it or not, that's just scared a bunch of people. They didn't know I was going to say that, but let me keep going. A flagship project is about to rise in Arlington that will remake that campus into a place we will call Mason Square. And that place will bring together students, faculty, and industry like none before. Digital innovation will occur in a LEED Platinum building, which will be net zero ready. That's already on the books. Second, we stand for a healthy people. Climate change and population increases are combining to create unprecedented health threats to humanity. They now threaten the health of all ecosystems with environmental degradation and extinction, the likes of which modern humanity has never seen. The impacts on human health are profound and already underway. We already see them. For Virginia, this means that the Commonwealth must keep pace with growing healthcare needs and a growing population. The Robert Graham Center reports that Virginia will need an additional 29% increase in practicing physicians by 2030. This is not a spigot that you can easily turn on and off. We will need medical infrastructure, and that infrastructure can be a lengthy, expensive, and tedious exercise. I say to you today that it is time for Virginia to commit itself to establishing the next public medical school designed and optimized for the 21st century that can be stood up relatively quickly and economically with a focus on clinical training. And I contend to you that the university that should lead this effort is George Mason University. Third, we stand for healthy economies. We will be a central catalyst of economic development for Virginia and beyond. This starts with talent, and an inclusive talent pool begins with Mason's New Virginia Promise. The MVP program is a pathway towards a bachelor's degree or your own business for every Virginian that wants it. It's a pathway towards a bachelor's degree or your own business for every Virginian that wants it. That's a big deal. Look, and I contend to you that we're the institution that can pull this off. Look, we currently admit about 90% of our students who apply. And historically, that has been frowned upon because it typically led to high dropout rates, right? But our approach to student success means that we consistently graduate more than 70% of those who begin with us. That's well above national average, and we do it for all racial and ethnic groups. That's right, our African American, Latin American, Asian American, and Caucasian students all graduate at about the same rate. They all perform well, and they all perform about the same. You would be hard-pressed to find that in 5 other institutions in this country. It's a big deal. Now, let's suppose you don't want a college degree. That's okay. The MVP program will help you establish your own business through the 29 small business development centers operating throughout the Commonwealth, all managed by George Mason University. If you need a few courses, we'll help you find a better opportunity through our programs like our Mason Talent Exchange. Look, the reality is this: we are no longer in just the knowledge and degree business. We are in the success business. Our goal is to become the ultimate Point B institution. What does that mean? It doesn't matter where Point A is. We're going to get you to Point B. And finally, we stand for healthy societies. What we want is enshrined in the final words of this nation's Pledge of Allegiance. We stand for liberty and justice for all. For the majority of 400 years, America looked one way, and we are now moving towards America's first fully multicultural society where there will be no racial majority. Change in this area does not come easily or without resistance. We, the people, have a choice on how to approach this transition. We can be reactive or we can be proactive. We can use this moment to bury our past mistakes and deny they ever existed, or we can look at them with minds and hearts intent upon learning, reconciling, healing, and growing into our inevitable future. When I came to Mason last year, I was so impressed and moved by how we approached the national reckoning with George Floyd and the intention his murder focused on structural biases that persist from bygone eras. Many observers fully expected us to take down George Mason's statue and take his name off the university. We chose another path, however, and it speaks volumes about the character of this institution. We have kept the name and the statue, but we've put them to work. and we put them to work as educational tools to open a wider discussion and understanding of the full duality of George Mason's nature. He was the author of some of the most radically progressive ideals in human history, which he embodied in the Virginia Declaration of Rights. But he was also a slaveholder who could not live up to his own ideals nor even follow the examples of other leaders by at least emancipating those who he held in enslavement upon his death. As the enslaved people of George Mason Memorial, which is right outside here, so powerfully illustrates, our namesake is the very embodiment of the duality of America, whose ideals have served as a beacon to humanity for centuries, but whose actual example has at times fallen far short of those very same ideals. In that spirit, we are pressing ahead with the Task Force on Anti-Racism and Inclusive Excellence, which is rooting out legacies of bias structures and practices wherever they may exist at Mason and replacing them with more inclusive approaches. If we are to become a national exemplar of anti-racism and inclusive excellence, we must speak honestly about our past, present, and future, and we must take affirmative steps to establish and maintain a university atmosphere of inclusion, equity, and acceptance that our students actually require. So as I wrap up, rescuing our future to ensure a healthy planet, healthy people, and healthy economies and healthy societies will be a central organizing cause for the rest of our lives. It is our job to conduct our research, to find solutions to overlapping grand challenges, and to educate our students to solve them. Finally, I want to wrap up by speaking to our students directly. I have described you as serious-minded, masters of adversity, with the weight of the world on your shoulders. I want you to know that I see you, I honor you, and I dedicate my presidency to you. Look, in my own youth, as a number of people here can attest, I was one of you. I have lived, grown, and ultimately worked my way to this podium, facing many of the obstacles you have. I know your journey because I am your journey. As I stand here, I am a living testament to the places your journey can take you. So you keep walking. We will walk with you. I will walk with you. Patriots, as we leave this splendid ceremony, let's gather around a common vision of a healthy planet, healthy people, vibrant economies, and free and inclusive societies. This is a cause that is worthy of our passions. It's bigger than all of us, and it stretches beyond most of our lifetimes. It is a cause that we can't help but throw our hearts and minds into. And that is what it means to be a patriot. So everybody, let's get to work. Thank you.